Morning, everyone. My name is Mike Edwards. I'm with the Ohio Department of Education. I work in the Office of Field Relations, and I wanted to welcome you to the 2020 Virtual Fall Technology Coordinator meeting. We are still having participants enter into the event today. First things, I would like to remind you of a couple of things before we get started. One is, if you have a question today, please put that into the chat window. We will get to it, either Dave Stein or myself. And please mute your cameras and your microphones. We're going to have several folks on here with us today, and if we start having extraneous noises or individuals talking, then we will be having some issues with everyone. So please mute your mics and your camera. We might ask you to unmute your mic to ask your question if it needs further clarification. I want to thank all the presenters who are taking time out of their busy schedule, along with you, for providing information today. So thanks again for being with us. Here's the agenda today. For those of you who aren't familiar with some of these individuals, go through them real quick. Jeff Andrews, he's with the Management Council. Melissa Solomey and Laura Lee are with the Info Ohio. Jane Rogers is with OCALI. Steve Smith is with Access for Learning. Paul Hieronymus and Dave Stein are with the Ohio Distance Learning Association. James Myers and Mike Doherty are with the Learn 21 COSIN group. Betsy Cordes and Catherine Shipley, are with the Ohio Educational Technology Conference, and Amy Palermo is with the Ohio Ed Tech Agency. A couple things I want to discuss with you before we get started is one of them being the Broadband Ohio Connectivity Grant. A couple of helpful items for the approval process with your applications. If you have not completed your applications, please make sure that you have the correct signed assurance page. And you'll know that by there being the words Broadband Ohio in the title of that application or the assurance page. And also make sure to include your original application that you completed from the Ohio-K12.health site. If you need a copy of that, please email me. I can send that to you real quick. The PCRs that you will be submitting after your application has been approved. There are a couple little issues that we're seeing with those we want to address. And that is, make sure that you provide documentation of what the device is, so that we, the reviewers, do not have to go look that up. It makes the review process go a lot smoother. Also include an invoice and purchase orders, or some way of showing the remittance that you've paid for the device. Remember, this is a reimbursement grant. So we're reimbursing you for funds you've spent. The Technology Coordinator listserv is available for you, and there's the link for it. There, just lost my train of thoughts. Hang on just a second. The listserv is there for you as a community that will be there to answer questions and provide guidance. So that's a great place if you have not already joined that. And then finally, we're going to talk, just wanted you to be aware of the testing portal. That's where all the information is at for you as a technology coordinator in regard to testing. And there's already a question up, Christina Bauer. There are no plans at this time for us to extend the funding. That really is something that's way beyond our control. That is an act of Congress we'll have to do because of the grants funding coming from the CARES program.
Mike, can I jump in on that for just a second?
Sure, Jeff.
That came out of CARES funding, but the reason that 50 million was, and this was going to be part of the talk later on, but the reason that money was generated is because of the survey that you all answered in the spring about device access and about internet access for students. And that's what inspired 50 million to get cut loose on CARES money. If there is another CARES Act or HEROES Act or one of the subsequent acts, there is money in that could reasonably be designated for follow-up past December 30th. So while Mike is right, it's way out of our control. It is on the radar of people that will be making those decisions as soon as another recovery package passed. And I expect that will be somebody, regardless of how the election plays out. I think that's on the radar for most of the folks that are running in this election. Thanks for letting me jump in, Mike.
Okay. And with that, we're going to go ahead and start our presentations. And first up is going to be Jeff Andrews with the Management Council.
Okay, so I could have been just a little more patient, huh?
Yeah, just a little.
Okay, that's fine. Are you seeing a screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, and Mike had asked us to put our email in the chat window, so I did that. And it's also on the screen, although Management Council is all one word. That space snuck in there by spell check that I didn't notice till just now. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to be talking about the Information Technology Centers, or ITCs. And as a technology coordinator, remember, you own your ITC. They work for you. So don't be shy about asking them to do things for you. And this is just sort of the map of the ITC world as it's known today in Ohio.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Can I jump in here just for a second? Just let me
Sure.
Apologize for this. It should have been one of the first things I said. Just want to make everybody aware that we are recording this today. So this will be available for later review. Sorry about that, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, I'll be sure to watch my language then. There are 5 things that all ITCs have to do in terms of fiscal, student, EMIS, internet, and library/digital resources. They all do a lot more than that, and like I said, remember, you own them, so you should lean on them for lots of things. Again, basic introduction, the ITCs all work together statewide. It's known as the OECN, the Ohio Education Computer Network. And much as the ITCs work for you, we work for the ITCs too. We support the collaborative efforts across the state network. We also do a lot of things with ODE and other state agencies to support other statewide ed tech efforts. So what's new in 2020, which is what I understand we're supposed to be focused on today? Well, first thing you need to know is that the software that basically created ITCs back in 1979, when the original accounting and payroll systems were put into play, that state software is going away at the end of 2022. So the options are something called redesign, which is taking the place of Classic, or something called eFinance Plus, And you should make sure that you have a plan, because if it gets to 2023 and nobody gets paid in your district, there'll be a lot of grouchy people. So just make sure that you know what your plan is, and make sure that your ITC knows what your plan is as well. In terms of remote learning, some of the help that you have, Zoom right now is $7 per teacher per year and free to the students. And what that means is, among other things, you should never have another snow day. It just should be a remote learning day if there's inclement weather or no water at the school or no heat at the school or whatever. But the one way or another, you should, and I realize Zoom is not the only option. I mean, there's Google and Teams and WebEx and so on. But when the retail price is $180 and you're getting it for $7, it's a pretty good deal, about 96 or 97% discount. And we touched on this a moment ago. The state gave away $50 million in the broadband grant to help with connectivity. And I want to thank you that this was due in no small part. And the governor's office will tell us that in no small part to the 2-question survey that we sent out in May. Said, put in the student's address, zip code, and whether they have access to internet and access to a device. And we thought that primarily superintendents would send this to teachers, because basically you just send them a roster and say, you know, here are 2 yes or no questions. Does the student have adequate access to a device and to connectivity? But a lot of you ended up getting involved. There will probably be another survey sometime soon. And while, as Mike noted, it's beyond our control, we believe that there's more money that is available, that will become available. So please participate when that survey shows up. Another thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a moment is the OECN has hired some 20 connectivity champions whose sole job it is to try and solve connectivity problems for families and schools. So if you got families that can't connect, or you have students that your teachers say, we're just not hearing from this child, or we don't know what's going on, reach out to the connectivity champions. They will bird dog these problems, and we got 20 of them that are doing all the different areas across the state. Again, I'll talk more. And then one other thing that you should know is that all ITCs are members of the Ohio Distance Learning Association, and that means that they have access to a lot of cool resources that you're going to hear about from Dave Stein and Paul Hieronymus later today. So I'm not going to steal any of their thunder. And the last thing I'd say is, hey, bandwidth is cheaper and cheaper, right? You buy some. You can never be too rich, too thin, too tan, or have too much bandwidth. So yeah. Anyway, another resource you should know about in 2020, the Ohio K-12 Help Portal. It gives you a dashboard of your district status vis-a-vis lots of several programs. It's loaded with E-rate resources. FAFSA. There's a FAFSA data service so that guidance counselors in your high schools can know where everybody is and where all your seniors are relative to completing their FAFSA. Haven't started, partway through. And students who complete the FAFSA are 17% more likely to pursue higher education or further certification or something. And so that data piece in and of itself means that we should make sure that every school is at least aware of the service, participates in the service. It's free. You don't have to do anything other than remind your superintendent to say, yeah, we want to participate.
Hey, Jeff, hold on just a second.
Yeah.
We've lost your presentation, Laura Brubeck. Jeff, go ahead and give back the presentation.
Okay. All right, let me see if I can get back to where we were here. Okay, we were
talking about FAFSA.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get back to okay. Are we back on the slide now?
No.
No? All right. All right, we will try to get to here. All right, are we back?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, FAFSA. Also on the K-12 Help Portal, you'll know that you can get your status on your K-12 network subsidies. You get $1,800 per building from the state to help with your internet costs. That's where you get your kindergarten readiness support and roster verification, and a lot of information about your the data requests that come from ODE for whether it's restraint exclusion or testing data or whatever. And that will lead you to Remote edX. And Remote edX is the connectivity champion project I was starting to tell you about. Remote edX is actually, the background is that it was a grant that the state, that ODE, along with a lot of people from around the state, submitted to the feds in July for $18 million. However, the way the scoring worked with the feds is that the first 10 or 12 points that you got for your application were related to how your state did in terms of flattening the curve. And you may remember that Ohio did really well. And so you were awarded points for doing poorly against the COVID disease. And so Ohio got 0 points in that category, whereas, say New York got 12. And so we started 12 points in the hole, and we almost were scored anyway. We were encouraged from the feedback, but it wasn't funded. But Ohio felt pretty good about it. ODE felt good about it. And so some CARES money was designated to make it happen, even though it wasn't federally funded. So the Remote edX project is this whole suite of learning supports for remote learning. There is this coordinating council that has representatives from, well, ODE, obviously, ESCs, ITCs, universities, STEM Learning Network, and so on. And there are three groups that were formed out of this. One is the Exchange, which is a set of state level tools. And you're going to hear about that from the InfoOhio people in a couple of minutes. So I'm not going to take their thunder. The support squad is going to be run by ESCs, and they're going to have a few concierge, or I guess they call them concierge people that are going to be working with districts for remote instruction techniques and tools that they get from the Exchange. And then the connectivity champions that's the 20 people that I mentioned earlier who are doing, they're the boots on the ground that are just going to be making sure that it can be connected. And then there are also
regular ones that I do not have.
Okay, you might want to mute yourself there, whoever you are. Connecting and collaborating through the Remote edX Learning Academy, and then there's also a collaborative fund where there are going to be micro grants for districts and consortia to apply for more support for remote learning. This is how the connectivity champions are broken up into 4 regions. And then there are a couple that are focused primarily on the urban 8, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Akron, Canton, Youngstown, Toledo, and Dayton. So I know it looks like a little bit of a gerrymandered map, but it's along ITC lines, so you can talk to your ITC and they can absolutely get you connected with a connectivity champion, or you can get it off the Ohio K-12 Help Portal. This is how they're broken up. There are 4 in the east, 4 in the north, 4 in the west, 3 with Meta, 2 with the urbans, and then 1.5 that are sort of in a central role. A couple other ITC services that I just wanted to remind you of, because this year there may or may not be, this year you may or may not have availed yourselves of these in the past, but there's a lot of EMIS training, and EMIS, as a reminder, is exactly, I realize that technology coordinators are not EMIS coordinators, but you sure want your EMIS people to be trained because they're going to lean on you anyway, and your report cards, your state report card, and your funding are both driven by EMIS. So you really want to have a finger on that pulse anyway. Voice services, TechGuard is kind of a cool product that you can not only train your people to recognize phishing attacks and spam attacks and so on, but you can actually conduct false attacks and see who among your staff is susceptible to that sort of thing and then needs some additional training. And prior learning and storm winds are both programs that you can use to develop technology skills online, and those are available at extraordinary discounts from your ITC. Generation Yes is a program that, and that's really not a program that's going to run anywhere during remote times, but when we do come out the other side of this and most people are back at school, Generation Yes is a program that not only trains your students to be first-tier tech support in the school, but also partners them with teachers to be content developers, and your ITC can help you to set that program up. Then they do all manner of reporting and specialized data analysis. And lastly, the JFS Child Nutrition Program will more than likely, there will be additional PEBT data collections. And so we'll be asking again. So you definitely want to make sure that your free and reduced lunch population is well documented, because generally when the Department of Agriculture, which is what runs the meal subsidy program, when they ask for the information, JFS has to hop fast and we have to hop faster and you have to hop faster still to get the data together, to get it in, to indicate how many meals your students should be reimbursed for. Then, just as a reminder, some ITCs do work outside the K-12 environment, but if you see them doing that, it's primarily to subsidize the work that they're doing for you. So they try to do, if you see them putting out fiber bills or offering applications to other entities, it's because they're trying to save you some money, not because they're not paying attention to you. And then I can share, we do provide a lot of services at the Management Council to the ITCs, and you can see several of them listed there. And then we do services for a lot of other governmental bodies as well. But that's kind of what the ITCs are up to this year. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions if you would be curious about something. And so I'll stop my screencast, and Mike, if there aren't any other questions, we can go on to something else.
Okay. I don't think there's any questions. There's been some discussion in the chat.
Yeah, can anyone expand on VoIP services available? Sure. It looks like Rory asked a question about VoIP services. Yeah, if you want to follow up with me afterwards, I can make sure there is VoIP. As somebody as Phil responded, there is Cisco Call Manager. There are also at least one or two other options, but I think that's that is probably the most prevalent voice solution through the ITCs.
Yeah. And Roy asked, does the OEMC have a portal for services / products available?
Well, there's the portal, that the Ohio-K12.help portal that has several of the services available from a statewide perspective, and then from your ITC's perspective, since they offer different services depending on the ITC, it would be a good idea to contact your ITC and have them walk you through all the services that are available there, because that won't be a uniform answer. And if you wanted an answer of all the ITCs in the state, all the services that are available, if that's the question, let me know, and I can track down a more substantial list like that for you.
Jeff, does Scott Gahn still have that services or the website? He had a website available that showed all the purchases or like statewide contracts that you guys were involved with. Is that still available, or is that?
It's tell you what, Mike, I'll get an answer to that and get back to you before the session is over today.
Okay.
I don't want to promise something that isn't there anymore, but I think so, but I'm going to check with Scott to be sure.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Jeff? There was one from Mark Curtis. Can you provide more information as to the connectivity champions? Is it money or people?
It is people initially. There is a reasonable chance that they will have some funds that they can do a little bit of helping with, but in general, it's people. But we have been working on trying to tap into a little bit of money that if they run into a problem where a little bit of money is going to help solve a problem, that they may have access to tap into that. Going to have more news on that after a meeting that doesn't end until 3 this afternoon. So I can't be more definitive than that right now.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on. Jeff, thanks again.
Thanks for the opportunity, Mike.
Info Ohio with Melissa and Lori. And I think Melissa's going to do the presentation today.
Yep, thanks, Mike. I just stuck a bit.ly link in the chat that's going to get you to today's presentation, along with my name and contact information. So with that, good morning. My name's Melissa Salima, and I'm a member of the Info Ohio instructional team. Today, I want to share with you some updates from Info Ohio, including a new resource, supports, some initiatives that are going to be important to your work throughout this year and beyond. So there's going to be some information you might want to access at a later time. So again, that bit.ly link is going to get you over to the presentation today. It's going to have notes in there as well. But there's also going to be that training link listed below that you can see on my, oh, you probably can't see on my slide, can you? Doesn't look like it went through all the way. Let me try that again. Sorry about that. Mike, can you confirm if you can see my slides?
We see, Melissa.
Okay, thank you. So yes, below that bit.ly link on the slide that I think you can now see, there's a kind of a quick links there, another document that kind of puts everything from today's presentation in one doc. So you can use any of those links there. So if you have any questions, I'll try and keep an eye on the chat as well. So Info Ohio is considered Ohio's pre-K-12 digital library. And as Jeff mentioned in his presentation, Info Ohio is a project of the Management Council, which brings to you all those things like Zoom and Gen Yes as well. We license high quality digital content for use by all of Ohio's students, teachers, and parents. And in the new Tech Cord meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, I talked a lot about the Info Ohio services specifically. So if that's something you're interested in knowing a little bit more about, I'm not going to cover that in a lot of depth today, but I did hide 2 slides that are below, before the slide on the screen that'll give you a little bit more information. Something to keep in mind is that we purchase the content on behalf of Ohio schools, and we need to have a way to make sure that only Ohio users can access it. So IP and location are key factors in the authentication process to ensure that we are providing access to Ohio users only. So one question that we get a lot is about username and password. So to help understand this process, we've created several short videos this year, like this one on the screen, that explains how to make sure a user is authenticating or logging into the Info Ohio website when they connect to infoohio.org. So this is a great one to share with teachers, students, families that might have questions about whether or not they're logged in correctly. So here we have a couple examples about how access can interfere with the authentication process to the Info Ohio website at home or school. And these are both tickets that I picked up in the last month where a parent was using a hotspot and their device was not being recognized as an Ohio user, or a teacher that has a new or existing interactive whiteboard In this case, it had an integrated web browser on it, and the report was that she wasn't able to access resources that she could access on another device. And in both cases, the IP address was pulling from outside the state of Ohio, and we were able to work with those individuals to make that connection and improve the results. So as we're seeing more a variety of connectivity issues out there, using hotspots is becoming a more common practice. Just kind of keep that in mind. There's a link on this slide and in the document, the training links document. It's kind of like the first layer of support, that auth check link, and that's going to let you know how you're authenticating to the InfoOhio website to let you know whether we think you're an Ohio user or not based on your IP address. So the InfoOhio website begins at www.infohio.org, and the homepage here, you're going to see the 4 grade bands, and then something new this year is the Parent Tools button. Focusing a little bit more on those grade bands, last year I presented to the same group a new look for our trifold flyer that we call the Teach and Learn. It breaks down the resources and the tools by age and grade band and allows you to see what's available across the full pre-K-12 spectrum. So those 4 grade band buttons on the home page are represented here in the different colored boxes. And the other pages not included on this slide include information about our other services, including professional development and library services. So a link for that can be found here as well. So we're going to take a quick look because I want to show you a new resource that we have this year in the purple K5 grade band button. So this new resource places digital text into the home and classroom. Some of you may be familiar with Scholastic's BookFlix as a resource for digital text. But at the beginning of October, we were very excited to announce a partnership with Highlights Library. So some of you might remember the magazines from childhood, the hidden picture puzzles. Ohio is actually going to be the first state to provide the Highlights Library with more than 2,500 ebooks. Both of these libraries combined feature fiction and nonfiction text, read aloud capabilities, and video. So from this page right here, when you're on a grade band page, you have 2 options. You can go directly into a resource by clicking anywhere on the gray button. Where the arrows are pointing on this slide is to the I button, which stands for information. So I'm going to show you a quick look at an I button page and kind of take us back to what we were talking about with access. The I button page is the second most important piece of information to understand. Many times teachers want to provide a direct link to a resource that students want to use, or you may be experiencing with other platforms like Clever or learning management systems like Schoology, where teachers are wanting to directly link to a resource. So it's important to understand that similar to being logged in correctly, using the correct link is equally important. So there's a couple of links associated with this slide. One is a list of all the resource links available in that link I provided. It brings you to a page that looks similar to this. There's also a video associated with this as well. So when it comes to sharing resources with students, the link on this page, specifically the I button page, either from the address bar or using that bookmark button in blue. The LMS direct link will also do the job. It's going to allow users to share this resource so that the correct authentication, that username and password that you don't see happening on the backside, is being passed along. So when you face a problem when someone's having difficulty accessing a resource, it could be related to logging in, or it could just be what link is being used. So no matter where educators are sharing this link, this is how InfoOhio is able to honor the contracts with vendors like Scholastic or Highlights to Ohio residents only. Access to this resource and others is relying on visiting the InfoOhio website first to be recognized as an Ohio user in order to gain access to each of these resources. So now a little bit about the Highlights page. Here's a quick snapshot of what you see from this resource and what to expect. Again, more than 2,500 titles, all with read aloud options. It's an interface that makes browsing, searching really easy to find a favorite topic. And if you look at the top, the reward button is going to take you to all the hidden picture puzzles. This resource is being offered as open access, so no individual accounts for students, which means it's not going to save progress, but it is going to provide an open access library for them to come and use. So the rewards area, again, all those hidden picture puzzles are there, whether adults want to relive their childhood or kids are interested in giving those a try. And one other note about the highlights library, while we've publicized it, it didn't come out in August. So you may be the very first to deliver this news to your schools and districts. So back to the home page here, I mentioned that the Parent Tool button is new. So if we take a look at that Parent Tool button, there's actually a whole list of questions there that can be expanded. And one of them is the "What is InfoHio" question. It's going to provide an overview, several links to resources. And again, you're going to see another one of those videos that I mentioned we've created this year. Gives a nice overview of InfoHio from the parent's perspective. And I've included that link for you as well. So I've talked about a whole bunch of videos that we've created, and we're continuing to add some more for support. So I just want to give you a quick kind of detour on where you can find all of these things from one location. So from our main menu at the top here, the hamburger menu, there's a link for document library. So there's a couple places here. Help docs and promotional materials is going to be the area you would want to visit here to find everything in one place. And then there's 3 areas that might be of interest to you. One is the parent help resources. That's going to connect to things that are also on the parent tools page. And then there's a screencast and videos. That's where you're going to find all of the videos that I've spoken about so far, plus a few more. And then over here at help docs and guides, something that's very specific to you as a tech coordinator would be the technical FAQ is listed here. I've provided a link there as well. Just a quick screenshot to show you a couple of the questions this addresses. There are a number of other questions here as well. Probably the most critical piece here is that sometimes certain InfoHio resources or pieces of their context, such as images, can get caught in district filters and firewalls. I'm sure this is something that's kind of a constant topic or battle that you're working with. So we have provided a list of domains that InfoHio recommends districts exclude to avoid blocking user access. This includes the highlights library. So visiting this page is going to get you, I think there's about 4 different URLs that will help maintain access to the highlights library. So again, a couple examples here of things you might see where this might pop up, whether it's a student not being able to access an assignment from a link that the teacher provided, or a teacher's getting feedback from students that they're unable to access a certain article. And this is probably most true in remote learning situations. Sometimes teachers aren't just sharing the InfoHio resources, but they've actually found articles that they're sharing directly with students via permalinks. So there's also been a video created to help educators understand how to properly share those permalinks, and you can find that link here too. So as schools face the shift to remote learning, and we have some information to help both across the InfoHio website and specifically about how library services can support remote learning as well. I've included a couple more links for you here. One, we have a remote learning FAQ page listed on our main menu. And there's also a link to the flyer that talks more about library services and how those can support remote learning. And I'll talk a little bit more about what library services offers, the platform, a little bit later. If you currently do not automate with InfoHio and you have some interest in that, you can certainly reach out to me via email, and I can provide you, get you in touch with someone who can provide some more information about that as well. I wanted to touch on our professional development section. It's known as InfoHio Campus. This was new last year, but we've kind of spiced it up and changed a few things out again this year. We provide professional development options that offer flexible, personalized training for our digital content and web tools. We've offered some new options this year. One is that InfoHio offers the option to purchase graduate credit and take up to 2 courses moderated by InfoHio and hosted by Ashland University. And then the Advance with InfoHio button would be a place where if you're looking to bring training to your district, you can check out the information here. There's even a calendar to show you some of the different sessions that we've offered in the past or are planning to offer in the future. And then Learn with InfoHio features webinars that were previously recorded, hosted by InfoHio, and are now available on demand. In the spring and summer, in response to remote learning, we offered 3 new series for a total of 15 new webinars. So each of those is either 30 minutes to an hour long and offers contact hours. And then finally, our biggest collection is Learning Pathways. This offers collections of classes that are open and available at all times. So I gave a brief introduction to this last year, but the list was much shorter at the time. We've added a few more. So just to kind of give you the highlights, this is available at no cost. It's open 24/7. There's and again, the option to earn contact hour certificates that's going to help teachers maintain their license. So this year, we have 4 classes in the ages 3 to 5 area that are OCRA certified. So if you have preschool teachers in your district that are working towards Step Up to Quality, that will qualify. Our Reading on the Screen class was added to the K-5 pathway this year. We've had a total of 7 classes added to the 6-12 pathway. The Building Digital Curriculum pathway is going to support the work of remote edX. I'll touch on that in a moment. And then for our library services, the Blue Cloud Learning Pathway offers 5 classes about the new cloud-based library services interface. So if you do automate with InfoOhio, your library folks might be working with the regular software workflows. Some of them may have transitioned over into Blue Cloud. So again, if that's something that piques your interest, please reach out and we can talk about how to get you the best information. I also included a link to the flyer for Blue Cloud if you just kind of want to get an idea of what's available within that. So earlier, Jeff Andrews spoke about Remote edX, and part of the larger scope of the project includes what will be called the Remote edX Exchange. So we talked about the Coordinating Council. The Exchange is just below that, and that's going to focus as a state-level tool for schools and districts. It's going to serve as the platform for sharing Remote edX supports, services, curriculum content, and tools with end users. As he mentioned with the support squad, there will be training offered at the ESC level in a train the trainer approach that's going to then trickle down into the district level over the course of the year. So there's 3 key components that InfoOhio is going to support as a centralized venue for standards-aligned curriculum materials, educational supports, and models that are going to support remote learning, whether it's in a hybrid, blended, or learning environment. So those 3 resources are iSearch. So in simple terms, iSearch is kind of like Google for InfoOhio. It allows you to search across most of the InfoOhio digital content from one search box. And then we have educator tools. We have more than 75,000 teacher-approved lesson plans in there, best practices, articles, website, instructional materials, activities, assessments. So iSearch is that place where students or teachers can find digital text, and educators is the place that helps teachers find the curriculum supports to build lessons or supplement their instruction. And then Open Space. This is Ohio's pre-K-12 Create and Collaborate tool. This is specifically meant for educators so that they can contribute and find instructional content as well as collaborate with others in this group. As far as the Remote edX Exchange, content reviewers are going to be evaluating content from Open Space that meet additional requirements established for Remote edX. So if it does meet those standards, it's going to get an endorsement, and then it'll be added into this collection area being developed for Remote edX. So this is going to be a big part of the work, is working with content providers across the state to help get a larger collection of lessons that are Ohio grown and make sure that they're more accessible to educators at the district levels. So I've included a couple links there about Open Space in case you're interested in understanding more about that. So that brings us to the end of the presentation today. Not seeing any questions in the chat at this time, but you have my contact information. If you think of anything a little bit later or have some questions for us, you're always welcome to reach out to us via support.infohio.org. You'll get a member of the instructional team or technical team to be in touch.
Melissa, excuse me. Melissa, thank you for being here today and sharing that information.
Thanks, Mike.
A couple questions for you, or one question for you from chat. Are all the links you mentioned in the presentation?
Mm-hmm. They're actually in 2 places. So if you there's a On the very first slide, there's a link for training links in that document. And then they're also within the notes section of each slide.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Melissa? Okay, if not, then we're going to move to Jan Rogers. We're going to let Jan take a second here to get herself organized. Is Steve Smith, is he with us yet? Okay. Steve, if you're with us, just let us know in the chat. We want to make sure that you're on our agenda. Hopefully he shows up today if he's not with us yet. And with that, Jan, are you ready?
I believe I am ready.
Okay, thanks again for being with us.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm with the Assistive Technology and Accessible Educational Materials Center at OCALI, and we are a professional development and technical support agency that's largely funded by the Ohio Department of Education Office for Exceptional Children. So our focus is really towards a lot of the supports, technology supports that might be needed for students with disabilities in your districts. So our homepage is ataem.org. And if you navigate there, we have a website filled with resources that might come in handy to you at points in time when people have questions. First, we're going to kind of look at the assistive technology supports that are available and some of the additions that we've made to some of the products that I think probably have talked with you about before. One of them is the Student Inventory for Technology Supports, or SIFs, and it's an AT feature matching tool to help IEP teams with the AT assessment process. And where you might come into play with this is you might have an IEP team that comes to you and wants your advice on the technology that might be useful for a student, or they may have something in mind. And what I hope you would do with them is to help kind of push them back and ask them the question of, have you actually conducted an AT assessment for the student? And if you haven't, here are some tools that may help you and maybe direct them to these. The Student Inventory for Technology Supports is just piece of the AT assessment process, and we built it as a kind of a bridge for teams because they knew what their students' strengths and needs were, what tasks they needed to do, and in what environments, but where they were stumbling was how do we connect all those things to technology features that could support that student. So this is just that little bridge to help with that. I think since I talked with you last, we've added like 3 or 4 new domains of SIFs. So we had started out with writing and communication, I believe, and now we have 3 areas of physical access for AAC devices, mobile devices, computers, as well as behavior and a couple others, math, I believe. So just so you have, and there are all the domains. Another thing that could help teams that you could direct them back to if they're struggling with how to make those connections and how to connect the technology is our AT Internet modules. We have over 50 modules. I think that's an increase from when I last spoke with you too. We continually add more to those. It will help teams understand that process if they're not quite clear on what they need to do for the assessment piece of things. So again, another tool that you can direct people back to before you get into having the conversations about purchasing. We've also been involved with DD Council, and I don't know, I think some of the smaller districts maybe share technology supports with their county boards of DD. And if that is the case, you should know that we are doing some work with the county boards to help improve their knowledge of AT assessment and AT supports. So some of those folks could be reaching out to you as well if you are in that kind of a relationship with them. And every year, along with our state support teams in Ohio, we sponsor an AT conference and vendor fair. This year we did the conference and vendor fair virtually. The previous years they were rotated around the state and typically in 4 locations around the state, so it made it easy for people to get to those. We bring in vendors, they kind of demonstrate their products, do presentations. We do presentations as well, again, to support teams within the districts. You're certainly welcome to attend those. When we have those, they're free, and anybody can attend. We also have an AT lending library. So if people are coming to, again, coming to you and talking with you about purchasing of things, you may want to ask them if they have actually trialed the device that they're interested in with the student. And if they say no, you may want to send them back to our lending library to borrow things so that they can try them out before they purchase. We have all types of different assistive technologies, and we'll send them out. Currently, we are doing no in-house pickups, but we have always sent things out to districts. So people just need to apply for a library card, make their request online. We'll put a UPS label on it, ship it out in a cabbage case, and when you get it, you try it and use it, and you can have it for 3 weeks, and then we'll send another shipping label, you put on the cabbage case, and then it comes back to us. If you want to extend that for 6 weeks, you can extend it if you'd like. Just need to let us know that that's what you'd like to do. And then the types of things that we have in our lending library besides the AT devices, which is also inclusive of kits where we've assembled a large range of AT devices that might hit a topical area such as reading supports or math supports, organizational skills, and it might have 30 or 40 items in the kit that somebody could try with a student. We also have FM systems, AT assessment tools, books, early literacy Braille books, and Ohio State practice tests that are in Braille. So now we're going to talk a little bit on the other side of things, the accessible educational materials supports. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit about federal quota registration of blind students. If you have blind students in your district, hopefully they have been registered through your special education director and superintendent in your school district for federal quota. And why this might be important to you is because, again, if somebody is coming to you and asking for a CCTV or a magnifier or something that that blind student might need, there are supplemental funds to help support your district in purchasing those things. And by registering students, that makes them eligible for the supplemental funding that may be there. So that's why we talk a little bit about federal quota. We also have a clearinghouse of federal quota items that have been returned to us. So if right now you're looking at the Braille and large print section of things, but we also have devices too. So again, if you're looking for CCTVs or Braille notes or some of those other, which typically are very high-end items, check with us first. We may be able to send it out to you, or we may be able to order it for your student if that student is a registered student. We also have a federal grant that we've been working on for the past 15 years, and it just got renewed this year again for another 5, which is called our BEST grant, our Braille Excellence for Students and Teachers. So we provide a lot of professional development, webinars. What you might be interested in are the tips and tricks or short troubleshooting videos that we have for some of the VI equipment, if you happen to have some of that in your district. We also have placed, I believe, around almost 30 local Braille production centers around the state of Ohio in school districts. So if you navigate to this web address, you will be able to find a map that has all the districts that have Braille production centers. If you have a Braille production center and you need assistance with setup, or you need assistance because it isn't working the way that you're hoping that it should work for a student, you can call us and we'll provide some technical assistance support to you to keep it running. We are still very much interested in those Braille production centers and are willing to support those through the BEST grant as we can. So check and see if your local school district actually has one of the Braille production centers within your district. And I mentioned the tips and tricks already. So again, these will take you through just short 5-minute clips on how to use different types of software or hardware that's Braille, that supports Braille. Then just a final word about general accessibility. We're involved in a good bit of work with just general accessibility and helping to advise people on how to create documents accessibly and how to keep their websites accessible. Hopefully your websites are designed with WCAG in mind and you have designed them with those standards. In addition to just your web design and the structure of your websites, you also need to consider your documents that you're posting on there. So the Here to Help section of our are some 4-minute videos that will help kind of take you through what some of those ways are that you can create documents more accessibly that you are posting to your website. Also our Inspire Ed series. These also will be providing some webinars, 30-minute webinars on creating accessibly. That's all I have. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer questions at this point.
We had one from Christina Bauer. Could you provide, or could you please share the link to your presentation?
Sure. I think Mike has the presentation, correct, Mike?
I was just looking for it. I did not see it. Yeah.
It's the same one that I sent for the other. Or I can send this one again if you'd like.
Could you just send it to me again? I'll put it in the presentation folders. And then I'll send it out. Christina, if you would please send me an email so that I'll know to send it to you. I'll put my email address in here. Tight this morning.
I'll drop that in the mail right now.
Thank you, ma'am. Jan, thanks again for presenting this morning. I know it's a lot of good information for those who are looking for help out in the field. Okay, next up, Steve Smith. Okay, Steve.
Yep, I am here.
Okay.
Good morning.
Steve is with, I'll go ahead and introduce yourself, Steve.
Okay, thanks. So, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen. Thank you for the invitation to present here in Ohio. I'm Steve Smith, CIO of Cambridge Public Schools in Cambridge, Mass., but I'm really here representing Access for Learning and the Student Data Privacy Consortium. I am the co-chair of the board of Access for Learning. Normally, Larry Fruth and I will do these presentations together, and I have been here in Ohio a number of times presenting to some of you. Some of you may look familiar to you. I did put my email and Larry's in the chat box, so I have information to share with you both on Access for Learning and Student Data Privacy Consortium. Kind of updates since we were last there in Ohio. I have a lot of information, so it might seem a little overwhelming, but I will be sure to have the slides shared with Mike, which if they aren't already. And of course, reach out with any questions to Larry or myself after the presentation with any questions if we don't get to them today. So today I want to talk about the new direction of Access for Learning, really focusing on connecting and securing learning ecosystems, not just connecting and not just privacy, but really combining the two together. So real quickly, just touching on privacy laws. These are the 6 major areas to think about around privacy. Obviously, FERPA being the huge federal law that dictates a lot of how we manage student records at the local level, and then local state law. As you all know, you recently had a Ohio law passed with some local regulations that would be kind of on top of FERPA. Traditionally, FERPA, it's a 44-year-old law that talks about districts protecting student records and when they can and cannot share data and records. The baseline is, districts can't share data without parental consent, but then there's all these exceptions. One of those exceptions, it's what's commonly known as the school official exception. And that's what is used today to share student data with online service providers. In order to share student level data with a lot of vendors that they are providing valuable services to a school district. The way to do that under FERPA and ensure that you're following FERPA is to designate them as a school official and have control over the vendor, right? Things like data security and what they can and can't do with the data and how the data is going to be destroyed after you're done using that vendor, et cetera. And that's all done through data privacy agreements with vendors. So that's the common practice today. Just level setting a little bit about Access for Learning and the Student Data Privacy Consortium. Access for Learning has been around since 1997. It was one of the original, maybe even the original education standards organization. It started out as the SIF Association, School Interoperability Framework. Since that time, over the last 20 years, there's been other education standards companies pop up. But A4L's focus for 20-some years has been that blueprint of how to share data between applications. Then about 5 or 6 years ago, Access for Learning started its first special interest group, kind of branching out beyond just this blueprint for interoperability. And the first special interest group was to address privacy. And that was the formation of the Student Data Privacy Consortium, SDPC for short. And the SDPC maintains its own governance board within A4L. And really its primary focus and mission is to address operational data privacy issues. There's a lot of great resources out there and guidance from other organizations like Future Privacy Forum, COSIN, Common Sense Media, iKeepSafe, et cetera, but very few actual operational tools and assistance. So we really were focused on kind of tactical privacy. How do we help districts and vendors solve some of these privacy issues? So that was the mission of the SDPC. When you think of Access for Learning and the SDPC, A4L, which is around, started out as interoperability, being able to share data more effectively and easier. SDPC is more on privacy and ensuring that, the data is protected. We're really trying to hit that middle ground now by combining SDPC and A4L to be able to, transfer data easily but securely and ensure that it's being protected at the same time. So really, this is kind of, we see this as an emerging issue, right? There's so much talk about interoperability and being able to onboard applications quickly, but if privacy is not being considered at the same time when you're more easily sharing data, actually creating more risk to student data. This is kind of our new vision for Access for Learning in SDPC. Through SDPC's tools, being able to safely connect all the online tools that are needed today in remote learning, and share that data not only between the districts and those applications or home and the applications, but also between the applications themselves. And these are the pieces that we see that need to be in place to do that. have the application vetting process, the contracting process to ensure that, any vendors that you're sharing data with, you actually have a valid data privacy agreement in place, managing all those apps. And then the integration side that AFRL has for many years been strong in being able to share that data using the SIF framework. And now the power of AFRL and STP coming together is in this secure data exchange, ensuring that before data is exchanged with an outside party to your school district, that all the protections are in place. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that. And then quality control, kind of having a certification for vendors that they are actually meeting these requirements. And then obviously professional learning for all. The SDPC, which I mentioned, has been around for about 5 going on 6 years now, really started with the work here in Massachusetts, where we created the Massachusetts Student Privacy Alliance around 7 or 8 years ago, with just 50 districts sharing a common data privacy agreement, and then using a tool to manage the vetting of applications and that contracting process. So it has grown as we partnered with AFRL and created the Student Data Privacy Consortium across the country now. And it's actually, I think, 30 states, one more since this image was taken. Ohio is one of the states with a very active alliance. And you can see the numbers. The tool that we started in Cambridge is now migrated to Access to Learning to manage vetting applications, and the data privacy agreement and the inventory of apps is what we call the registry. And you can see the large number of applications that are in the database, around 5,000 applications with close to 13,000 contracts. It says on there, piggybacked exhibitees. What that really means is that those are data privacy agreements that are in place that districts that are part of an alliance can just subscribe to and have a valid data privacy agreement between them and the vendor. Really trying to streamline the vetting and onboarding of applications to make it quicker to onboard secure applications at the district level. So that registry has this workflow built into it. Everything from the teacher originally requesting the application into the approval process. Now that is customized or customizable at every district. What the workflow looks like in one district may not be the same as another, but for example, when a teacher requests an application, it first goes to Director of Educational Technology, who vets it for curricular alignment. Or do we have other tools that do this? And then it gets approved and gets moved on for technical vetting. Is there anything we need to think about for rostering or other things? And then the final step is obtaining a data privacy agreement. And then once application is approved, it gets posted as an approved app, and all the way along the process, the teacher that requested the application receives updates on every step when it's approved and what to expect next. So it no longer kind of goes into a black hole of a teacher requesting an app and not hearing anything. Obviously built into it is the contract and application management piece through that workflow and transparency. So it's optional at the district level, but at some point when a district has a robust list of approved applications, turning on the transparency piece for the community is very advantageous. To be able to say to your school community, your parents, your students, these are our list of approved and not approved apps and why. The transparency piece, has the name of the app, the purpose of it, where it's being used in your district, and a link to the actual data privacy agreement. So you're being completely transparent and as well as the data elements that are captured or exchanged in that application. So they're completely transparent about what's being used, where, why, what data elements are in there, and then what are the protections in place through the data privacy agreement. So that's all part of the registry. And again, this is all available to Ohio districts. These are kind of the advantages of using the registry, using what will soon be released as the Ohio Model Data Privacy Agreement. The piggyback piece, as I mentioned, once one district signs a data privacy agreement for a particular product within Ohio, other districts will be able to sign on to that or subscribe to that data privacy agreement just by signing a one-page, we call it Exhibit E. It's a general offer of terms. So again, it's really streamlining that onboarding process, so everyone doesn't have to go through the same process of vetting and getting data privacy agreements signed. So when we launched the Data Privacy Consortium 6 years ago, Larry and I had a goal or a vision at that time of, why don't we just have a national data privacy agreement? But we learned early on that, getting districts and states to agree to that language across the country would have been a showstopper, and we never would have got the consortium off the ground. So we purposely encouraged every district to develop their own data privacy agreements that worked in their state and in their jurisdiction. Over time, though, this organically came back to the idea that the districts and the alliances themselves realized that it didn't make sense for states to have different data privacy agreements. They naturally started copying each other's data privacy agreements, and for a couple of years we had what we call the national clause set. And then this summer, after about 18 months worth of work with districts, states, and vendors coming together, really painstakingly going through clauses and wordsmithing, we launched the National Data Privacy Agreement, the first version of it. And it's my understanding that the Ohio Alliance was just waiting for this agreement to come out, and they're going to work on adopting it. So I believe that's in works. Learn 21, I think, is taking the lead on that piece of it. So the national DPA is like a framework, right? So those alliances that adopt the National Data Privacy Agreement will be using the same document across the country. It'll look the same. I'm just checking the time here. Look the same to vendors, no matter where they receive it from, but it provides flexibility. You can see the different sections here. The standard clauses are the same across the country, but then through Exhibit G, Exhibit G down further, supplemental state terms. So it is, the ability, every state, not every state, but many states have local requirements that need to be incorporated. So they will be in Exhibit G, and you can easily see from page 2 if Exhibit G is checked off that there are additional. So it really reduces a lot of effort of having to read line by line all the different data privacy agreements across the country. So I'm going to skip over this. There's a short video about Unity, which is the new A4L specification that really enhances the old CIF infrastructure into what is called Unity. You can see from the screen here the various pieces of Unity, kind of the legacy CIF models are incorporated into it, tied into CEDS, the Common Education Data Standards, supporting federal reporting, and the ability to transfer IEPs and rostering, and in the upper left-hand corner, privacy support. And I know I'm running out of time, but real quickly, Unity has built into it a privacy specification. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see what we call a POD, Privacy Object Document. This is really the ability to carry over the wire privacy obligations, right? So it's the first time there's an actual standard that incorporates privacy obligations. So this is a very busy screen, but this is a proof of concept here in Massachusetts where the vendor that is managing state data collections is also offering rostering and privacy enforcement using CIF Unity in these pods. You can see the pods here coming out of a district level hub, and then the various applications that we may want to roster around the outside of this using any standard, not necessarily tied to one roster or A4L, but the vendor would receive the pod over the wire and understand the privacy requirements before receiving any data, certify that they will meet those privacy requirements. And that's really what the message I want to hit home today is that A4L and SDPC coming together to really incorporate security into interoperability. So that we really see this as the standard moving forward to ensure before any data is exchanged that those privacy requirements that are dictated in the data privacy agreements are adhered to by the vendors. So again, that's just kind of a picture of secure automation. And I think I'm up on my 15 minutes. I went 1 minute over, so I apologize.
Steve, that's all right. We appreciate you being here with us today.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions for you. Well, I shouldn't say questions. We got one question and a kind of a comment. Chet wanted to know, what vendor are you using to manage your state data collection?
Yep, it is Cedar Labs out of Minnesota. Yeah, they are the state contracted vendor, and they are the ones we're working closely with to develop the mass data hub that we call it.
And the second one, do you know if Larry or maybe you might have presented to one of our school administrators groups, either BASA or OSBA?
If I'm sorry, what was the question? If Larry or I
have presented to one of our school administrator groups?
I know, so I've done a couple of presentations, mostly associated to Learn 21, and Larry probably has done more because he's right there just outside of Columbus.
Yeah.
But we are certainly willing to present to any other group, so just drop us a line.
Okay. And finally, I've got just a quick question for you, Steve. How are things going in Cambridge?
How are things going? Well, just like everywhere else, right? It's a unique situation. I could talk for a couple hours on that, Mike. But things are going well. I mean, we're hanging in there.
Are you in face-to-face? Are you doing virtual or a combination?
It's a combination. JK through third grade, we have about 50% of the students in person, and then everyone else is remote. But we're closely monitoring. We have metrics that we are using in Cambridge, and they are inching up to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if next week we're forced to go back to all remote just because of those metrics.
Yeah, we're in that same situation here, I think. I don't know for sure. All right, Steve, we appreciate it. And when you get a chance, tell Larry we're thinking about him.
Yep, I will for sure. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know if you want to hang around a little bit for James and Mike's Learn 21 COSIN presentation.
Okay, yep.
But you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, next up we have Paul Hieronymus and Dave Stein from the Ohio Distance Learning Association. Gentlemen?
Well, thank you very much.
Morning.
And I'm not sure if that's Dave. Are you sharing your screen, or would you like me to share mine?
Paul, I'll let you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Ready. So, is our presentation showing okay, David?
I see
You're
it.
doing well.
You.
All righty. I'll let you start off then, Mr. Stein.
Okay.
And let me see if I can get this sent into the. I lost my control, so I don't know if I can easily send this into the chat. Here we go. I got it back now.
Okay. Well, Paul
right,
and
so
I
I
are
just- go
from
ahead.
the Ohio Distance Learning Association, or Ohio DLA. And we're going to talk a little bit about the group in a moment, but this morning we want to talk to you about some free opportunities for content provider programs that are available for schools and students. There are many opportunities that are out there, and we're going to touch on a lot of that. So, Paul, if you want to go ahead. My name's Dave Stein. I am the current chair of the Ohio DLA and also work at the LAC ITC in Newark. Paul, go ahead and to the next slide. We have the group itself, Ohio Distance Learning Association. We're a group of experts in the realm, but also those who practice or want to participate in primarily live two-way video conferencing like what we're doing right now. Our group has existed for about 20 years, and we formalized in 2012 with our formation of the state chapter of the United States Distance Learning Association. We are part of the Management Council, part of Jeff Andrews' group. And we also serve on state initiatives such as Remote edX with ODE. We're a grouping of schools, educational content providers such as what you see on the screen here. Those are those who deliver standards-based virtual field trip programs, but also educational support agencies around the state such as the ITCs. All of the ITCs are currently members. Several of the ESCs, EdTechs, and BEMC. So our members primarily deliver programming or support schools that are doing it. And we also have some providers that are delivering daily classes through the medium. Of course, right now, we've got a pivot statewide, but several of our providers have been doing this for years. And then also collaboration, schools connecting to schools. Thanks, Paul.
And I'm Paul Hieronymus. I'm the Director of Technology for the North Ridgeville City Schools and the Vice Chair of the Ohio Distance Learning Association. And what we wanted to do is just help a little bit with some resources that we think can help make you guys be heroes with your curriculum department and your teachers by providing some actual resources that you could take away from this program. In the chat, we threw in our contact information as well as a link to our website and a link to this presentation. So there's a resource in there that we think will be helpful for all of you to be able to have as well. So as we talk about the different content providers, the old term of that used to be virtual field trips, and we learned that that was really not a very appropriate name for the type of resources that they're providing, because what you get is you get an organization that takes the resources that they have and develop lessons that they run for your students. What's real powerful is that these museums have adapted to our current hybrid situation. So they are willing to connect via whatever platform you have, whether it's Meet, Zoom, WebEx, whatever you'd like to do, Teams, and be able to deliver that lesson to your students, both in the classroom or to students in combination of home and classroom. So most of them have made that adaptation and are working quite well with that. Here's just a quick snapshot of one of the ones that we did this summer with the Antietam, the battlefield of Antietam, where we had them be able to share great resources for that in one of our summer programs. As we kind of worked with content providers throughout the school year, we rolled into the summer, and in my school district, we prior to things being opened up, we went ahead and really were looking at the situation of how are we going to manage the summer with all the summer camps being canceled, all the pools being closed, many families unable to even make trips over the summer. We went ahead and created a summer program for our families to be able to partake in. And so we thought, well, why don't, many people aren't going to be able to get to the national parks, mainly because they were closed. And maybe just travel in general is going to be a challenge. So we went out and reached out to as many national parks as we could find, and found out that many of them not only were already had programs developed or were willing to even just connect and be able to talk to families about their resources and about their park systems. And so we found that to be a real powerful thing for our families. And we created this great program to run all summer, and then the state of Ohio opened up and people were allowed to go places. But out of that, though, came some really great resources that we've been able to share with our teachers. So these programs are out there and available, and I'll share with you a quick list of those here shortly. But the key is, though, that with these programs, they are delivery and agnostic. So you have to be the one that's scheduling the program. You send them the links and they can be able to connect. The best part about all these is the national parks do not charge for their programs. So these are programs that can be free for our classrooms to be able to participate in and work in. And many of them go from, talking to somebody from the Flat Hat to programs on ecosystems or programs on, endangered species. Some really great programs that fit right into our curriculum, which is really powerful. And many of them have their programs even aligned to our content standards. Just a quick note, though, that these do book up quickly. So you want to reach out to them early, and it's not one of those where, hey, I got some time today, let's go ahead and let's go to the Rockies. That's not kind of the way that works with these providers, but they are very open to scheduling on your bell schedule or on your time schedules right to the minute and work with teachers very well. So the hard part about this is where to get these resources. You can either go ahead and do what we had to do, which was search every national park or search around the national parks, use their search engine to find things that are out there, or you can have some group like us create a list already for you that you can take advantage of. So linked in this presentation, we have a list of all of them. We actually took this and just made a copy of it and made it for our Distance Learning Association. And through here, you can see these are some of the programs that we particularly liked or recommending to our teachers. Many of them we've already done and really enjoyed them. And there's some really great stuff in here that we have with those. The couple of them that just are coming to my, let's see who we had, some of them in Alaska. So you got to always, of course, work with the time zones, but just a great list of programs that are out there. That Glacier Bay, again, is another one that's just amazing. Has some great programs out there as well for us. So just just a really nice, great list of things that are out there. But when you're looking for those kind of programs, it's not just the national parks that are out there. And if we scroll down to the bottom here, here's some other free ones that are out there for you to take advantage of. So, for example, the National Archives is a really powerful one. I've connected to them for years, and they are free, kind of free. We pay for them every April 15th, but they provide some great resources for schools. And if you are going to be able to do a Washington trip in the future, we're actually planning on using them last spring for our students who were unable to go to Washington, D.C. So when we do our normal Washington, D.C. trips, there's always a group of kids who have to stay behind. And they're given kind of study hall kind of work. by connecting to the National Archives, they actually were willing to take our itinerary and pull out resources tied to many of the places that the students who are on the trip would be going to. So at least we had some type of an experience for our students who were there. But there's so much more beyond just that group, and that's where I kind of want to segue to now. A great resource out there called CILC, the Center for Interactive Learning and Collaboration, and it's linked off of a couple of these websites here, or I could just go to it right here. It's a very powerful resource that allows you to just be able to search for content providers all over the United States and around the world. You can do a quick search in just in on their main page, or if you want to, you can go to their you can go to their interactive learning, find programs. Here's just kind of an idea of just a fraction of, just an idea of how many providers are out there. Some of the national parks are in here, not all, but you can go ahead and just type in any topic you want to have. Seeing that I am a terrible typist, I'm just going to go ahead and just do rocks. And as we go in here and look at this, we could just see a very quick piece on here that we'll see different programs that are available just by doing that quick strand. I'm going to just choose one of my favorite ones, which would be the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, not only because they're local, but because Lee is really cool. And as we look at that, you'll see that some programs do cost money. So in this case, you're paying for the time of the person who is on the other end. The connection piece is actually the free part of it, but you pay for the program. And that session is available that schools can purchase. I like this program because I actually have this set up with CILC where my teachers can actually just go to the book it piece. They say that they want to do it with a PIN. An email is sent to me so I can secure funding for it. And then we'll go ahead and be able to get that, finish off the booking of that session with the content provider. But as we look through these, we'll get some really important things about, the grade level that they're targeting. And most importantly, the format and what's going to be covered during that session. So it gives us a chance to see what's going to happen here. But I also strongly encourage educators to reach out to the content providers and communicate with them and talk to them and say, hey, these are the things I'm hoping you're going to cover. And 9 out of 10 of them will do exactly that, or just be honest with you and say, that's not in our, that's not the way we do it. So it's a great piece that we kind of have there. And that's just my quick little spiel on content providers. So with that, I'm going to swing back to David here, who's going to talk about the Zoom project.
Okay, great, Paul. Yeah, and we heard about this in the beginning. Jeff had mentioned that we do have a project underway. This is actually, we're into our second year of a 5-year project. Initially, before the crisis happened, we had hoped to get 20,000 licenses sold statewide in the K through 12 space, and I think we've crossed 60,000. And so we're very fortunate because the project has enabled us to bring Zoom at a very, very low cost and bring a lot of people to the table. We've got an arrangement with all of the ITCs. The ITCs are selling licenses through the Management Council. So if there is interest, please contact your local ITC, or you can reach out to Paul or I. And yes, there are other platforms out there, but this really has helped a great deal. One of the other initiatives that we're working on currently is a clearinghouse exchange of daily courses and eventually content as well, so that we will have a system by which if a school has a course that they're able to teach out to a set number of students or a full class, or if a school needs a course. So this is something that we are currently working on, and you'll be hearing more about in the near future. So that's it. And I wanted us to share, there is a really good resource on the management website for distance learning resource. I'm going to paste it into the chat here. Paul, maybe you can pull that up real quick. And if you scroll down to about the middle Yeah, Zoom resources for educators. Okay, this doesn't just pertain to Zoom, but these are different tools and just guidance as to how to conduct courses and so on. And a lot of this is probably not new for people, but we just want you to know that these resources are out there. And I think that's it. Paul, you're muted. I think that's the end of our
Yes, I am.
presentation. If anyone has any
stopped
questions,
sharing, right?
sorry.
I'm a little clumsy in teaching.
No, that's okay. I appreciate what you did. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. You've got our email addresses, so this is a kind of a special time because obviously more schools are being introduced to these different opportunities. But our group is a good resource because we've been doing this for many years. So we have people at the table at the DLA that can help you get started or provide resources to you.
All right.
Thanks,
Any
Kevin.
questions? Paul, Dave, thanks so much for sharing that, and we really do appreciate your time. Next up, we're going to bring the Learn 21 coaching group. That's James and Mike. I think Mike is going to do the presentation.
Yep, just making sure. Can you guys see this okay? Maybe. There we go.
It's loading. There we go.
Good. All right. James, you on here too? I thought I saw you in the participants list. I just want to make sure you're here before I start.
I have arrived.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Mike, thanks for having us. My name is Mike Doherty. I am the Director of Technology and Innovation at Chagrin Falls Exempted Village Schools, which, if you don't know, Chagrin is a small district up by Cleveland, about 2,000 kids. I am also the chair of the Ohio COSN, Learn 21 Ohio COSN chapter. And with me, I have James Meyer. James, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, James Meyer here. I am the Director of Information Technology for Bedford City Schools, which is a short flight away from Mike here in the northeast area of Ohio. I'm the Vice Chair of the Ohio COSN organization for this year, and happy to be here.
So we won't take much of your time today. I just want to talk to everybody about what Ohio COSN is. I know when I looked through the participants list, there's actually a lot of COSN members on here. So as I'm talking, if anybody in the organization, whether you're an officer or just a member, if you want to chime in, feel free. But really, Learn 21 Ohio COSN is essentially, it's a community of visionary tech leaders who are trying to empower everybody to reach their potential. Right now, we've got about 40 school districts across Ohio, and our job really is to kind of advocate for you. So we're going to talk here in a minute about what we do in terms of advocacy and mentorship and studying and things like that. But we're essentially a professional organization for IT leaders. There's not a lot of organizations strictly for K-12 IT leaders out there. I'm sure everybody's aware of ISTE, and ISTE does have a subsection that has some stuff to do with tech leadership, but really we're the organization out there. We're a subchapter of the National COSN organization. All of our resources and the things we do are really focused around technology leadership, and it's really about connecting a group of peers who, we're all going through the same thing. We're all wearing the same crazy amount of hats right now. So it's really about connecting everybody, growing as leaders, and really kind of helping the students of Ohio. So I wanted to go through our leadership team. I'm not going to read everybody off here. The reason I put this up is I wanted you all to see, here are the different people around the state of Ohio that are involved with Learn 21 Ohio COSN. So if you see somebody on there that you want to reach out to or you have questions for, these are all people on the list. If not, myself and James will both put our contact info in the chat when this is all done. But again, we've got representation across Ohio. We're in our third year. It's a great group of people. So let's talk about what we do. So there's three big avenues. We have a mentorship program, which James will talk about in just a second. We have advocacy, and we have the CETL study groups. So I'll let James talk specifically about mentorship, and then we'll go through the other two.
All right, and in my office, I have one of the old school boilers. So if you hear the banging, it's just going to remind you of probably your school building, or at least the school building you worked in at some point. But it can get pretty loud in here. So mentorship program 3 years ago, when we started the COSIN in our partnership with Learn 21. One of the things that I was really interested in was the mentorship program, and this was because I was coming out of the private sector. And the mentors that I had there were other businessmen who were coaching me along the way. And as I jumped into education, I didn't have the mentorship that I had in the private sector. And as we looked around the state of Ohio, there was a lot of folks like me, or folks that had been like me. And so my first mentor in the program, my mentor is Bill Fritz from Learn 21. And we kicked this thing off to get mentees an opportunity to work with mentors on a different level than what we usually see just in working from district to district. So the mentorship program is really about advancement. We're advancing ourselves through one of the two different ways. You're either advancing yourself through mentorship or you're advancing yourself as a mentee. We celebrate these personal achievements. We look at your career a little bit differently than your superintendent would, because we're looking for growth, both personal and professional. And that's on both sides. You know, the mentorship door swings both ways. And in the past, we've had great success pairing up individuals. And in talking with Jennifer Fry, who is our director of leadership here at COSIN, she's going to be taking this a different direction in the upcoming year, simply because of the way COVID has impacted our ability to get together. We're probably going to do a little bit more targeted group meetings similar to this, to bring each other together in this 2020-2021 season. But we don't want to go backwards. We want to continue to move our mentorship program forward, even given all these problems that we'll have getting together and fostering relationships. But we still think it's vital that we do that. So if you're interested, we'll be getting out an interest form to you. If you're already in the program, we'll be reaching out as well. I'm going to paste my information here into the chat, and you can send me an email directly, and we'll make sure we get more information to you. But if you are new, please join up. If you have been in the business for a while and you're ready to take that to the next level to become a mentor, let us know as well. Thanks.
Yeah, I would just echo what James said. I think if you've been doing this position for a long time and you're looking for a way to give back to the community, becoming a mentor is an excellent way that you can do that. If you're relatively new in your position, again, I think the mentorship program provides a ton of opportunities for you to learn from people who've walked walked your shoes, have been in the seat before, and really understand what it's like to be a technology director in Ohio. The second thing is that we focus on is our CETL certification. So it's not ours, it's actually COSIN certification. The CETL stands for Certified Educational Technology Leader. Unlike other certifications out there, this isn't like a CCNA or an MCSC where it's all technical based. The CETL certification really focuses on essentially the different hats you wear as an IT director in K-12 and the different jobs you're required to do. So it's built around COSIN's framework of the essential skills of the K-12 CTO. So as you look at this framework, you'll see it's got leadership and vision, instructional focus, professional development, communication, stakeholder focus, team building. I mean, it's really all about what it's like to be a K-12 IT director. It's the certification has been around for I think around 10 years now, but it's really beginning to gain traction. We're starting to see different job postings. I haven't seen one yet here in Ohio, but I have seen them in other states where they actually put CETL preferred on the job posting. So what we at COSIN are doing is we're doing study groups for those people that want to that are interested in earning the certification. Last year, pre-COVID, we had 27 new leaders in Ohio earn this certification. There's only about 700 CETLs in the whole world, so having 27 in Ohio just last year is great. I think as a state, we've got around 40 at this point. So typically we do study groups both in the spring and in the fall. COVID has obviously changed that, but the goal is to offer a study group starting in January. I'll be leading that study group, and we'll be going through the various aspects of the framework. Usually takes about 3 months to get through. We meet every Wednesday from 12 to 1, and we go through one area each week. So you'll be seeing information very, very soon. Hit the tech listserv about that. So if you're interested in that, respond to that email. There'll be a form in there as well. Or again, at the end of this, I'll put my info up there. So if you want to contact me directly. And then lastly, Ohio COSN is really involved in advocacy. And what that means for you is we are doing different things kind of on the back end, behind the scenes, just to help make things better for the students of Ohio, for the teachers, for the technology leaders. So, some examples, just had a call with Dr. Scott Hunt last week about some ways that Ohio COSN can work together with ODE on different things that we've got going on. I believe Betsy's on this call. I know that we're working with OETC. We have been for the last couple of years, but we're working with them specifically this year on what OETC looks like this year, how we can help, how we can provide more of a leadership pathway at some of these events as opposed to just a traditional tech pathway. So we're doing a ton of different things on the back end to just try to make things better. So if this is an area that you're interested in, please, again, reach out. There are tons of opportunities where you could help the state. So how can you get involved? I've already mentioned before, becoming a mentor or even just being a mentee, if you want to be a part of that. Leading or presenting at one of our CTO clinics, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Partnering with an officer. I showed the list of officers before. If there's something that you're passionate about or something that you really want to learn more about, please reach out. Again, we have a great team that's willing to work with you, and nothing more, just speaking to us about how you could help. So the last plug, that's my contact info. I'll come back to that one. We do typically do 3 CTO clinics each year. Our first one actually begins tomorrow. I checked, you can still register for this as of today. It's a free event from October 28th through the 30th. Time slots, I believe it runs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. each day. The days are divided up into different themes. So tomorrow is cybersecurity, then instructional innovation, and then student data privacy. It's a great event. Typically, we have this in person down in Columbus, but this year, with everything else, we're going all virtual. It's going to be an awesome event. It'll be recorded if you can't make it, but I really encourage you to register. You can hear more about Ohio COSN and some of the things we do for you. Again, free event. So please sign up if you're interested. Here's my contact info. I also put the learn21.org address where you can find more information about Ohio COSN. But yeah, we're here for you. That's basically my pitch. So if there aren't any questions, I'm going to hop into the questions here real quick. Were there any questions in the chat? Ryan, you asked, what are the costs to get involved? I'll have to send you that. It's dependent on the size of the district. Joining COSN can be anywhere from, James, help me, I want to say like $199 up to like $1,000, depending on the size of the district.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that real quick and paste a link to it.
The cost for the things like the mentorship program and things like that, those are all free, but there is a cost to joining Ohio COSN if you choose to do so. We encourage it, but you don't need to be a member of Ohio COSN to be a part of the mentorship program or a part of the CEDL study groups.
Excuse me, Heidi, can you unmute your mic for a second and address which link you're talking about?
Yeah, I was talking about the event link that they shared.
Okay, so your question was answered.
I'll paste it here in just 1 second.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Mike. James?
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate you coming by and sharing your information with us. Next up, we're going to go to the Ohio Educational Technology Conference, and Catherine Shipley and Betsy Hordes.
Hi, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen here.
It's a little box with the arrow in it.
There
beside
it
the
is.
microphone.
Okay. Let me know if you can see that. Do you see that, Mike?
Yes.
Okay,
Good, yeah.
excellent. Hello, everybody. I'm Catherine Shipley, and I am the director of the Ohio Educational Technology Conference. Betsy Cortez is also on with us today, listening to what everybody has to say. Tracy Taylor is still with us, however, she is out today. So I just wanted to share with you a few things that we have coming up for OETC 21. We are running very late, of course, because that's apparently how we roll, but we are going to be virtual February 8th through February 12th. That is the same week that we were going to be if we had been live. We are going to extend days to a longer conference, hoping to allow people to be able to flex their schedule a little bit. So we're looking at kind of doing a 5-day conference, and this is a draft schedule at a glance. This is going to depend on the sessions that we get in our proposals as to how this is actually going to break down. But we did want to offer a full day of educational opportunities, as well as hopefully some keynotes, some opportunities to do networking and discussion groups multiple times a day, as well as to have daily virtual exhibit hall hours. And we're hoping that spreading this over 5 days and extending the day a little bit will give everybody a better opportunity of being able to join us that week. So this is kind of, like I said, a draft schedule, but this is what we're aiming for at the moment. This year for OETC 21, we have changed our registration rates in order to hopefully maximize the number of people that are able to come and participate. We're doing individual rates for attendance at $100 per person. Groups of 5 to 14 are 10% off. Groups of 15 to 29 are 15% off. And then groups of 30 or more are actually going to have an unlimited rate, where if a district, institution, or organization wants to sign up, 35 people, they're paying a flat rate of $2,500. This registration will include the full access to our sessions scheduled the week of OETC, which are live sessions, pre-recorded sessions, also the networking and roundtable sessions that we're going to be having. We'll also have, of course, our partners and collaborators there in order to interact with those people. You'll also have full access to the exhibit hall and our exhibitors and sponsors. Then we also will be posting recordings of all of the sessions that we have at conference after the event, so you'll have full access to those. And we intend to kind of continue OETC through the rest of the year in order to help people stay together and continue to work together as we try to exit this quote unquote unprecedented time. We will also be providing certificates of attendance for all the paid registrants. So ultimately, after a conference, it's possible that if we have 100 sessions, each registrant can get 100 times 45 minutes of contact hours for their professional development. So hopefully this will be able to help people in their professional development opportunities, as well as to attend conference. We have redefined our session tracks for the year. We just changed them enough to help people in a virtual, hybrid, in-person blended learning environment. So these are just the titles of them. And descriptions of these will be coming out actually at the end of this week. So also for our exhibitors and sponsors, we're going to have a virtual exhibit hall where they can have a company brochure and commercial. You can choose who to speak to when you want to. We're going to have short sessions called Gather with a Guru, where they will do a 20-minute session on how to use a particular product or service. You'll have meet and greet opportunities with exhibitors that are there. We are offering them exhibitor educational sessions if that's something they choose to do. And then we are going to have exhibit hall hours daily from 4 to 6. And those are going to kind of be rotating through exhibitors. So we'll have to keep that schedule up to date and keep you up to date on that. So all of that being said, we are looking to launch our call for reviewers, our call for sessions, registration, and our exhibit hall sign up later this week or first thing next week. You all will receive an email as to when that information will be available. You can always check our website, and I'm hoping that Mike Edwards will help us out and send out the information that we sent him. So once we get all of those things out, if you have any questions, you can, like I said, go to our website, or you can contact us at info@oetc.ohio.gov. So we are looking forward to this. It's very new. We look forward to working with you all. We look forward to working with ELA and COSIN and OCALI and Ohio and everybody that has supported us for so long. So let us know if you have questions, and we will go from there. I hope everybody takes care, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Okay, are there any questions for the conference team? Okay, if not, I am not sure if Amy Palermo has joined us from the Ohio Educational Technology Association, or if Jeff Good is online. Okay. All right, so with that, we'll give them a few minutes here. I want to go to kind of do a couple of things here. With the time we've got left, we're not going to take the full time today. We had a couple of cancellations, so our 12 o'clock time frame won't hold up. I want to thank all the presenters who participated today, providing us with very valuable information. And I also want to thank Dave Stein. You know, Dave did the presentation with Paul for the Ohio Distance Learning Association. Dave has been a valuable assistant to me, or co-producer of these events that I've done. I'd like to thank him for that. One of the things I would like to do with some of the time that we have available, I have a couple of discussion questions for the group as a whole. One of them being, what would you like to see the Ohio Department of Education do in order to help you with your jobs? By that I mean, would another summit type of event be helpful, where we provide some additional discussion areas, trainings, topics like that, like we had at Summer Summit for those of you who participated? And if you want to, just go ahead and unmute your mic and just give your opinion. Or you can put it in the chat, either one.
Hey, Mike, I'll throw something out there. I know that one of the nicest things about, getting together when we're all together is being able to have those sidebar conversations and, kind of breakout meetings that could occur. And so I was wondering if maybe more of a unconference kind of format might be something that might be worth trying another time, where we can create like a shared document that people can create potential topics, and people could actually set up their own, side meetings in there where a link could be thrown into that document for people to be able to connect in and participate. I don't know if that's something that people would also find valuable.
Along with that idea, I sat in with, there's a company out of Canada, Rally.video.
Who is this?
Ryan
I know
Collins.
who it is.
You should know my voice, Mike.
I do. I just want to make sure that everybody else heard you.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
you was.
I guess I should. There's, 100 people here? 87? Yeah.
Yeah.
So their software, it's a brand new company, because when I did the demo with them, they were asking me questions about they hadn't using it in education. And I think that's something that maybe the state can look at and work with them on some pricing. What it does is it's used, they were aiming it for performers like comedians to be able to stand up. Everybody can sit at tables and you can have kind of like little conversations at your table, virtual table, while the speaker is talking. And the speaker can sort of hear everybody, but it's like more of a live event. And then the speaker can bring people up to the stage or send them back down. It looked like some really cool software, and I'm sure they would be really excited to work maybe something with OETC or something that we wanted to do, because she was really interested in what the education market could do. But I haven't been able to, this was back in June when I talked to her. I haven't had a chance to do it any further because I've been buried with everything else. So that's just one little idea of something that I saw that could be really, really cool.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
This is Catherine Shipley from OETC.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So this is obviously something that we spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out. The state does not allow us to use Zoom or anything else that other people are using. So we have spent the last 6 months researching how we're going to get this done. But I will say that our event management system is going to allow us to do things like that. So our networking and roundtables and keynotes are going to have that function. But I do like how somebody was talking about having an unconference and being able to use those functions in that way. So if anybody is interested in helping us maybe head those up a little bit, we would love to. We're not able to facilitate those ourselves, but if anybody is willing to kind of help us facilitate those, we would love to set them up for you. So just let us know.
Okay, and I'm assuming you've talked to Toby Fisher.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And Toby has been extremely helpful. I'm just a little bit behind with him because of a long drawn out story on our end. So
yeah, Toby's the man.
Yeah. Oh, he's the best, and he's been super, super helpful. But yeah, we're hoping. I have to say that because we've never done it before, but we're hoping that concept that you're looking for is what we will be providing for you.
Yeah, because just like today, this is kind of difficult because we don't get to see anybody else that's here. There was over 90 some people. So, and I don't know, I saw some people, I recognize their names, but without faces to go with it, it's hard to, and there's no sidebars. There's no way to really, it's more sit and get than as interactive.
Yeah. So we are definitely hoping to give you that face-to-face interaction that you're looking for. That's what we're working on at this moment. That's kind of why it's taken us so long to put everything together, because we don't want to tell you we're going to provide something and then have technology fail us.
I don't envy your job, so.
Yeah, it's been really fun. But now that we're in the heart of it and we get to talk to you guys, we're really, really excited and we think this is a good opportunity. So
along with that, and this is for everybody, is there some way, I don't know how to get the messaging across to others that a virtual conference is still a conference my time will be divided. I might not be even though I'm in the district, I'm not in the district. And I don't know how to word that for people.
Hey, Catherine.
Yes.
This is Chet in Cincinnati. Just to add on to Ryan's comments, I was at the OETC last year, and I've been at countless conferences, tech conferences over my 40 plus years in IT, and I can't I can't overstate the importance of those sidebars. I have found at the technical conferences, while you can learn a little about a lot. The biggest benefit for me has always come from those talking to people about what they're doing, what not to do, sharing experiences, and you can save yourself a ton of time finding out what other people are doing and what they're not doing, and pros and cons of if there's technology you're looking at, or maybe there's things that you haven't thought of, or maybe you can share things that others haven't thought of. But just to add on to that, we are using Google breakout rooms. Now, I don't know if others use that. That could be an option. We're using that.
The state doesn't allow us to use Google.
What's that?
The state doesn't allow us to use Google. We're not allowed to use Google.
Oh, okay.
So it's extra fun. So what our goal is at this point is, so we have
Can you speak to that? Why aren't you allowed to use you mentioned you're not allowed to use some of these technologies. Why is that?
Because of when you sign into Google, you tell them that anything you put in there belongs to them.
Oh, got it.
And they're, just kind of the legalese behind it. Zoom, of course, with the hacking that was done.
Yeah.
So so Kathleen Moore, I see where you say about the breakout rooms. We also have those. So we have figured out how to do what we're calling, we have a meeting hub where if you go to a presentation and somebody's talking about, let's say, Google Docs, and you run into Bob and you and Bob start talking, you can go to our meeting hub. And in the meeting hub, you can video chat, text, or have a phone call with each other. Have a separate meeting hub. So we're hoping to help facilitate those sidebar conversations.
Will you have virtual happy hours as well?
We're working on that right now. The problem that we're running into is the expense that goes along with face-to-face things. It's outrageous, which is fine. But we're having a hard time passing those things through our superiors. So we have at the end of our schedule, we do have happy hour time slots at the end to help facilitate those things. So we are trying to get all of those opportunities in. We're also hoping that this conversation goes past the week of OETC, that we can set up a more continuous conversation so that those people that you see at OETC that you love talking to, we can maybe do it once a month and get those people together, because this conversation needs to happen more often than that once a year. So we are trying to get all of those things in for you while still providing you with professional development that your districts will pay for.
Hey, Catherine, has there been, besides the video and audio, has there been discussion on maybe some forums or chat, like a text chat room? I don't want to say any clients because you're not allowed to use them, but.
It's awful. So can you do me a favor so that we don't hog up all the time? Can you email me more of what you actually mean by a text chat room?
Like Discord, Slack, something, Google Chat.
I can look into that, absolutely.
Okay. Because sometimes you don't want to pop in with voice or audio. You just want to post something little and get some feedback.
I see what you're saying. So you want like a news feed?
Kind of, yeah.
A little bit? Okay. Let me look into that. I appreciate the suggestion.
Like the app they've used in the past, you can do a lot of that tech stuff with it.
Oh, yeah, we're still going to have that.
So maybe that would do it, because you can carry out one-on-one and you can post in the feed too.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. I had my mic muted. Going to go to Jim's question. Jim Johnson, offer training workshops like back in the SchoolNet days. Are you asking for the New Horizons and those types of courses?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I remember that was a really nice perk where we could take courses for like $50, and it's usually like a $2,000 some course. I don't know if any of those fundings are still available to come back like it was years ago. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that funding is gone. Been gone for a long time.
A long time, yeah. It'd be nice to have something like that. I'm using tech cred money from the state of Ohio, but you know you have to apply for that, and it's difficult to jump through the hoops. But it's a nice program that helps with some of the similar training.
Right. Yeah, I don't foresee us ever going back to those fall and spring training sessions like that we used to have. Those were pretty expensive, and really they were underutilized when we had them. I don't know if he's still on here or not, but one of my former colleagues at SchoolNet and E-Tech might be able to address that, as he worked with that, but no. No, that's not going to happen. We could do something very similar to the summer summit we used to have, which we still do, but it's on a smaller scale now. Did that kind of answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, it'd just be nice to see some of those training sessions, something or other. Yeah, the summer summit was really good too. We just seem like all those great programs have been gone for so many years, and we never see them come back.
Yeah. Okay. Kim?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Sorry, that was a long thing to type in there.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you to speak it.
Just saying that I've really enjoyed the meetings that a lot of us have kind of been a part of since the spring. I mean, they popped up out of necessity as we were all pulling our hair out, but they've kept going. And I think, you know, it's been really good. I feel like I've met a lot of people around the state that even if we show up for a meeting at OETC once a year, you know, you don't really sometimes meet folks this way. So I feel like I, you know, have gotten to know people just through these meetings, and I feel like they're more responsive because I don't have to wait for a monthly meeting, or, you know, they were kind of weekly at first or bi-weekly. So I have enjoyed them, and I like the format of having kind of a preset agenda, but then, you know, you have the opportunity at the end to, hey, I'm having this problem. Anybody else seen this? It's been a nice way to communicate together.
Yeah, those have reminded me of the old meetings that the ITC used to have that I used to attend. So I've enjoyed them. Anybody else have a topic they want to bring up before I ask my next question? So what do you want to do about the tech coordinators meeting at the conference? Would you like to have a meeting? Because I am sure that I can work with Catherine and Betsy to get us a session. Or do you want to just...
Mike, I would say no, just because we can do it easily virtually at any time. Why take up our time during that conference? This is Ryan, by the way.
I was thinking a little similar along those lines, Ryan. That's why I kind of brought it up.
Because it's during the conference in face-to-face, it's really hard to get the time to come to the tech coordinators meeting. So that's my thought. Since everybody else, hey, if no one else wants to talk, I'll talk.
Okay.
Hi, Mike. It's Catherine Shipley again. I wanted to let you know that you all can have any time you want. You just let us know what time works for you. Or if you want, we could set up something within our system, like maybe the week after, because anybody that has attended conference will have access to all of the recorded sessions. And so if we do something a week or so after conference and everybody could do a rundown of what was really good, you know, did you see this session? Go check it out here, that type of thing. But we already have you all down as having a meeting at some point. So just let us know what we can do to help you facilitate during, before, after. So,
Catherine, are those videos going to be totally public or just for attendees?
those videos are going to be just for registered attendees.
Okay, that's I mean, that just makes sense. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so I think at this point, it looks like even if you go watch those recorded videos afterwards, we're going to be able to give you a certificate of attendance for watching those recorded videos. So that will be that way until 2022 content comes out. And then the 2021 content will become live for anybody to see. And does that make sense? We're going to kind of rotate it.
Yeah.
But in order to get a certificate of attendance, you do have to be a registered.
Is John Rundag? We'll start picking out some names here, I see. John, are you still with us? Okay, John isn't with us. Matt Simpson?
I'm here.
Matt, what do you think?
I really believe, you know, as we've continued to utilize the, you know, video conferencing and everything that it has the power to do, that, you know, organizing these smaller groups of people with common interests is an awesome thing and can really, you know, be powerful. So, especially being able to do it without having to go somewhere, which I know that whole getting together and the physical thing is awesome. And you can't replace it with a video meeting, but however we can organize it or however it can be organized and made available to whoever, you know, has an interest in a particular area, I think would be a great thing. And, you know, as far as whatever tool we use, that doesn't really matter as long as it gets the job done. So. I really do think it'd be great to be able to have a way. I mean, even if it's as simple as someone suggested earlier, just a shared spreadsheet with meeting links with common topics. I mean, that's a super simple way to doing it without, you know, throwing a whole bunch of layers on it, or hopefully there's not a lot of layers on it. But, you know, that's a really simple solution that I think could work with dates and times, or, you know, something a little more elaborate. But the weekly ed tech things are very beneficial, although sometimes they are hard to, you know, allocate your time to watch that stuff on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. But there's a lot of value there, and if we could continue to build upon those things, that would be awesome. So.
Sue Sparks, are you still with us? Okay. Vern Collis. Vern, are you with us?
Hey, Mike, can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Hey, great.
Are you fine?
Good to hear everybody on there today. I agree with the group.
Nick, you're breaking up. Or Vern, you're breaking up. I'm sorry.
I think I was clicking a button.
Okay.
No, I agree with everybody else. I like having multiple options, whether we're using Team or Zooms or something like that, to meet periodically without having to try to travel so much and, take time out of the day during some of the conferences. I do like what I'm hearing for OETC, so I'm going to be taking that to my superintendent soon to see if she wants to get some people signed up. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm not opposed to Google Sheets and having something along those lines for, some of these group meetings and breakout sessions. I think I agree that would be simple. I don't know if there's another way. I'm thinking like Sign Up Genius or some of those other, apps out there that we like to use from time to time. I don't know if something like that would work better for gathering sessions. If I wanted to help facilitate a session, to have something that people could sign up for. That way we have an idea of interest. Not sure, how we would want to go about organizing some of that, just so we had an idea of, how many people wanted to, attend some of these sessions, before we just had a bunch of meeting links out there for people to use. So just a few things I'm thinking of, but hope everybody's doing well. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Vern. Michelle, Bodie.
Hi, I agree with everyone else. I have really enjoyed and appreciated the weekly meetings that I've attended. I've learned a lot. It's always nice to learn from your peers versus some of the other ways that, or other things that we do. So having different options, and it seems like, because everyone is so busy, having that virtual option definitely brings more people together. So I like I said, I've really appreciated it a lot, and I'd like to continue those.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. I'm going to kind of wrap this up today. I want to thank all of you for participating. Kind of go and let you know that if you have any questions about the day, please contact me. The information there you see on the screen. Just let you know, this recording will be hosted on our YouTube site once I get it uploaded or have worked through the process. And here's our Department of Education social media sites you can find us at. There's another social link. And with that, I am going to sign off here. I want to thank you all again. I will send you the presentations if you email me, the ones that I have received. So with that, I'm going to return about 35 minutes of your time today. Thank you for participating, and we will talk to you later.